I was asked to, come to shed some light is the source of that problem. The source of that problem. I talked about diagnosis that will lead to prescription, that could then lead to treatment that will work. If you fail with the diagnosis, your prescription is going to be wrong, and the patient will die. The patient here is the sick Nigerian, and our concern is less for Nigeria than for Nigerians. It's a world of difference. If you mix up the two, you're going to end up killing the people you thought you were going to save. Having listened to some of the things that have been said even on this segment, what we have in our hand is a Nigeria that has become a rogue state. Mm. And the global Islamic movement has targeted it to make it their operational base for what they are doing globally, having been challenged in the Middle East. And it's not something that began last night. It's something that has come a long way. And they've, at this time, succeeded in establishing a passage from where they have to relocate to where they target. And on the last page of the paper you have, you will see the map of Nigeria. The size of the problem is this, that to all this Atlantic Ocean, to the bottom here, on all these sides are ungoverned spaces. Chad, Niger Republic, Northern Mali, and most of what we call Northern Cameroon are just a satellite playground for what the one you call Nigeria. But that Nigeria collapsed in 1966 when the constitutions that brought them together, were overturned. And a rogue federal government emerged, operated by a caliphate. And when you hear caliphate, the Islam they put on it is to confuse those who do not know what it is all of. It's a political movement that grabs sovereign spaces and actually target the whole global, how much of it they can get. But they always require some launching by some operational basis in which they won't be challenged. And what's going on there is that they have found, having hijacked that federation, the sovereign space, housing that federation that collapsed in 1966, becoming a federal government. I'm sure you hear about federal government of Nigeria all the time. Becoming a federal government in a situation where the federation had collapsed, but operating a unitary system in which they're in charge of everybody's bedroom. They've seized all the assets of the owners of the place, and the only thing remaining now, and that's where the urgency of it comes in, the only thing remaining now is that they are eliminating what could become future claims of the indigenous peoples of the area by cleansing them off. They've already finished the task in this upper parts that they've imposed Sharia. We have 12 states that simultaneously impose Sharia in a supposedly secular federation. Having done that, they also found their way to Government House. The Boko Haram you hear was just their mechanism to bulldoze their way to Government House. The day after the election, they went into the mission for which they got to that Government House, and that mission was to overrun the rest of this territory. And where they are now, if you look closely to the map, you will see the middle belt. You hear about Benue, Plateau, and all of that. They just moving upon the communities, removing them, and bringing their kinsmen, because the Fulani incidentally do not have they are an itinerant population, they're nomads, all the way from Gambia to Senegal, all of the West African, and they are bringing, as they sack one community, they bring, they already allotted the whole place up to Port Harcourt to, Fulani of one country or the other. The people they call herdsmen are the advanced team the ones who have come, like you know about the promised land. When they got there were giants occupying the place, and they had to be removed for those who came to take their inheritance. That's what they are doing now. The owners of the various places are being removed for those who say it is their inheritance. They actually tell us to our faces that the place was given to them by Allah, and they will do everything to take every part of it. They've succeeded in taking the assets of all the sites you hear about Niger Delta and the agitation for their oil and gas. All those things have been sequestered long time ago from the point of that collapse of the constitutional arrangements. And I call it rogue federal government because if you have a federation, imagine the United States in which the constitution that secures everybody is overthrown by maybe not even any big state. California is big enough. Imagine if it were Long Island or some Maine in the northeast here that overthrows the constitution of the United States and becomes the owner of the whole of California, the oil assets of Texas, and all of that, and manages to impose a constitution in which you can no longer generate electricity for yourself, you can no longer police yourself, you can no longer elect who will govern you, because they have to do everything from the center. And in that kind of a situation, having secured that ownership permanently by brigandage, they now want to remove future claims by removing the human beings. It's ethnic cleansing that is called, and I'm sure we had a Danjuma. So if we do not realize that that's what's going on, we probably will be saying, let's go save Nigeria. It's not Nigeria that's into Nigeria died a long time ago. It's the Nigerians trapped in that space that are in trouble. And what can be done for them now is to recognize the reality of the situation and the implication for the global community. Because if they go beyond where they are now, they say they're going to election. You know what that election for? They want to get another 4 years to sweep through what is left into the Atlantic waterfront here. And what has happened on ground there is that somehow we've managed, in the organization I'm secretary to, we've managed to wake up the owners of the rest of the place to say, if we do nothing, these guys have been decimating piecemeal. It will come to you at some point. And when it comes, nobody's going to come to your aid. In a situation where if anybody's in doubt as to who is the source of the terror, the governor in Kaduna State, you remember the one on the Christmas Eve, they imposed curfew. People were not to move around. And everybody thought, well, at least for the period of the curfew, we could relax in our village. These people came from nowhere and sacked, they killed over 890-something people on the eve of Christmas. People who were getting ready to just celebrate the next day. And the governor, his response to all of that was to say, that they went, that the ones killing were Fulani from outside Nigeria. And that he had, as governor, gone to give them money in 14 different countries to plead with them to stop coming to kill people. And if you interpret it further, you will see that they know where the killers come from. There is their responsibility, ordinarily, to protect the people who are in their domain. They are not doing that. And they take money from the treasury to go to give to those people. And it's simply, the reason he said, what he said, he told them that Fulani now in charge. That means you don't have to do any more of this. We're already here. Take it easy. We'll find a way to deal with the rest of it. They are taking over the place. And if they do, in no time, the whole of these territories we're pointing at, the whole of that charge, bigger than Nigeria in landmass. Niger, bigger than Nigeria in landmass. Northern Mali, bigger than Nigeria. If those three alone, get sucked in, because that's what's going to happen, you have a monster operating from it, because the rest of West Africa will just collapse into, is it Benin Republic or Togo, which of them? They will suck that in, and they will have in their hand the proceeds of the oil and gas that is sold there to finance their global operations. And anybody who will be coming here to fight with them, to try to remove them, like the fight has been going on in the Middle East. Middle East is desert. You can see from 1 million miles what you want to do. But if that comes up here, and we're very close to getting to that, if they escape with going to this election that will renew and reinforce that constitution they have put in place. They call it democracy. I'm sure we all know about the apartheid South Africa. The closest to what is going on in that place is that apartheid, in which a minority stranger population became the owner of the entire space to the exclusion of the owners. And they have succeeded in keeping it almost 20 years. They want this one more election since they've got their man who has the capacity to do the evil that is required to finish the business. That's where they're going. And what we have done is to get all these ones to say, this constitution is not of us. The one we made, you overthrew. For 50 years, we've been asking that we discuss. You say we can no longer discuss. You go pull arms from everywhere, seize power in government house, pretend it's all a democracy, killing everybody, and now we won't go with you any further. The help that the global community can give to the situation is to listen, to understand what the problem is, and to go to nip it in the bud, because if it grows any larger than it is, now like you do with cancer, what we've done is offers a quarantine plan to that situation. If that quarantine is not in place in good time, the global community will pay a very high price, and that is avoidable. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please, I will